nani wa kunipenda wakati kila mmoja shapendwa? Niseme ni nani wa kuniteka? Kila mmoja anapepea enzi kama utoto, esi mchoyo. Nijue ni nani wa kuthamini, na mioyo ya chuki imesheheni. Nikubali nani kuniliwaza, na kila mmoja ana mawazo. So enzi kama mtoto, esi mchoyo. Thank you.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching us from. A huge warm welcome to everyone attending and participating in this beautiful event. Ladies and gentlemen, mabibi na mabwana, my name is Evans Oma, and I'm joined by this amazing, beautiful, energetic Miss.
Thank you so much, Evans. My name is Noel Murunga, and we will be your host for today's event. Today, we celebrate the journey of one of the most influential youth movements in Africa.
When I tell you this youth initiative has revolutionized the youth-led advocacy movements or agenda in Africa, I think, Noel, that is an understatement. Well, today we'll be glad to hear from an array of youth advocates across the globe, and also hear from policymakers, partners, and donors who have worked with WIAT for the last 4 years.
Today, we also get to learn about the winning models that Youth in Action is using. Some of these models have been used by youth advocates all over Africa to carry out their advocacy campaigns. But before we get into that, this event would not be a youth event without some music and dance. And on the decks, we've got our very own DJ Vani. What do you have for us?
DJ Vani, touch it a little bit again. Asante sana. That is our DJ Vani, and he is in the house. So we'll be also having some live music, and also DJ Vani will be entertaining us. When we promised you that this will be the most engaging event, virtual event that you have ever participated in, well, we promise that we will keep it that way. Again, Noel, I'm being informed and told that when I'm looking at, I'm being informed that we have youth advocates, people, huge crowd of people who have joined in this particular event. And I want you to invite you, those who are watching us from Facebook, from Twitter, Zoom, and all the virtual spaces. Type in somewhere there, down the chat box. Tell us where you're watching us from. And I'm being also informed that we have people who are joining us across the world. I told you that this is an international event. So we are joined in by lots of people from across the world. We have guys from Kenya, we have guys from Senegal, we have also from Canada, USA, Nairobi, Mombasa, all over the world. I can say that today, in this 1 hour, 30 minutes, Noel, we have stopped the whole world. The whole world is just listening to us. So thank you guys for joining us.
And as Evans has said, we have a lot scheduled for you. So let me start with a quick fact just to juggle our minds. Do you know that almost 60% of Africa's population is under the 25-year gap, making Africa the world's youngest continent? Isn't that cool?
Wow.
And on that note, I would love to let you know that this event is being live streamed on YouTube. That is Youth in Action. Also, we are live on Twitter. Tweet and share on social media about this event. Our hashtags are Youth in Action and Y-Act the Journey.
Youth in Action, Y in caps, I in caps, and A in caps. That is Youth in Action. Then another hashtag is the Y-Act Journey. The T in capital, Y-Act in capital, then J in capital. So the Y-Act Journey. While I believe that most of us here and those who are watching us have interacted with Y-Act for quite some time, but I feel like it's very, very important for us to delve in a little bit so that we get to know Y-Act a little bit better. And here is a video that will probably take us through the Y-Act, who they are a little better.
People say that the world is constantly changing. We evolve to tell the story of a world that's always in a state of motion. But take a moment to think, has it really changed? I mean, really. But like any story, we must start at the very beginning. My name is Samuela from Samburu County in Kenya. I'm part of a game-changing network called Youth in Action, Y-Act. In my county, which is based in the northern arid regions of Kenya, going to school is a luxury for many girls. Girls are often married off by the time they are 12 years old, right after they undergo circumcision. Picture this. Young people in Kenya make up about 75% of the population. So imagine how many young girls are at risk of these harmful cultural practices. It's been decades since this detrimental cultural practice has endured, as girls continue to be married off for cows. This could have been my story, but I was lucky. I was lucky to have had a father who took a chance on me. He allowed me to go to school. My father believed in me, and my teacher supported me so much. In school, I read a lot of books. I loved reading stories. The stories I read painted a possibility of a bright future. Although the stories were too foreign and far-fetched, I chose to bring the colorful world closer to me. I chose the path of belief and hope. When I started out, I really didn't know where to start or how to engage with policymakers in my county. I needed a platform that could understand my needs and offer me opportunities to grow. This is how I met the Y-Act movement. And let's just say that was the start of my advocacy journey. What an experience it was. Through Y-Act, I met over 3,800 youth advocates and over 750 youth-led organizations who are passionate about social change, especially when it comes to innovation in health, education, equality, governance, and employment. Amazing young people. Y-Act felt like a home where I could connect with other like-minded youth advocates. Eager to get to work, we formed the Samburu Y-Act Coalition and later the Samburu Youth Advocates Network. The best part is we got to connect with other Y-Act coalitions advocating for gender equality and reproductive rights in 5 other counties. Fast forward, a couple of years later, I quite possibly couldn't quantify the lessons I've learned being part of this movement. However, in my time as a youth advocate, perhaps the most important lesson I've learned is the importance of government partnerships. For governments to make the right decisions on issues related to youth, they need us at the decision-making table. As youth, we are seen as too rowdy, too much, and sometimes too confused. So governments opt to ignore us or take advantage of us. I remember the WIACT Samburu County chapter chose a different path. We chose to arm ourselves with information and the right power suits. And complete with our PowerPoint presentations, we were able to convince the county government on the importance of involving us in their development agenda. And we sensitized them on what meaningful youth engagement really is. That was 3 years ago. Today, we talk of a different story at the county. We have worked with the county in development of the first ever policy on access to youth-friendly services. The WIACT Samburu County chapter now provides guidance and insights on a number of developmental issues. This goes for other counties like Kakamega, Kilifi, Nairobi, Kisumu, and Bungoma, where we are seen as development partners. The moral of this story is, let's start by creating and sharing our stories and changing the society we live in today, not for a better tomorrow, but for a greater now. Growing up as a pastoralist child, while I may not have made the best goat herder, I learned a thing or two about goats and how they had for greener pastures. Alone you can go far, but together we can conquer the world. And that is WIACT's legacy, movement building anchored on the voices of young people. WIACT continues to create opportunities for youth advocates to learn how to develop their organizations, which in turn contributes to their sustainability. Think formidable youth-led CBOs, having the capacity to make change within their communities over a long period of time. And that is only the beginning. We have so much more to accomplish at WIACT, revolutionary progress we think you should be part of. Take that giant leap. Don't wait for time to fly by. Join the movement and do your part to create the great now all young people want and deserve.
Wow, wow, lovely. That is Samuela's story. The Samuela story, when you listen to it, it gives us an insight of how WIACT has worked with youth advocates at the grassroots level. But you might be wondering, what is WIACT doing? What have they done differently to achieve what they've already achieved? What is their DNA? And how have they impacted on the community? Now, our next video also going to expound a little bit about the capacity strengthening approach and the advocacy models that WIACT has implemented in the last 4 years.
WIACT Youth in Action was formed at Amref Health Africa by a group of young innovators in 2017 to address challenges prioritized by the youth. Since then, WIACT has grown to become one of the most influential youth movements in the region. WIACT provides tailored training, mentorship, coaching, and coalition building support to youth advocates and youth-led organizations in Africa. WIACT believes that Africa's youth have a huge opportunity to shift in-country and regional policy landscapes to address challenges that the youth face and subsequently achieve their full potential. To date, WIACT has mobilized a vast network of youth-led organizations all over Africa. WIACT has supported these organizations and staff in the coalitions they work in to establish, grow, and sustain advocacy and social accountability efforts that have achieved unprecedented policy change across the region. The combination of everything we've learned and the adventures of working with the youth over the past 4.5 years makes us truly different from any other movement. We are youth-led. Our core staff are youth, and our steering committee is only comprised of youth. We work with youth-led organizations at grassroots level to build partnerships and coalitions for stronger advocacy. Our creative and innovative teams utilize engaging communication strategies and content, including storytelling, to advance advocacy. Through meaningful youth engagement, the youth and policymakers work together to achieve win-win solutions on youth policy priorities. And we utilize experiential learning for advocacy implementation. YACT uses a participatory approach to identify youth advocates' priorities, assets, and gaps in their advocacy work. Firstly, we obtain evidence and data through our vast network of over 3,800 youth advocates to inform youth priorities and carry out focus group discussions with the youth to collectively identify youth priorities. Secondly, we co-create innovative solutions and tools with the youth. These include scorecards, resources, training materials, and content for youth-led campaigns. Thirdly, we utilize these tools and resources to build capacity of youth-led organizations with priority to organizations led by young women in order to close the gender gap. Lastly, we document and share evidence on advocacy wins with the youth and stakeholders for scale and replication. In celebration of our milestones, here's a snapshot of our wins. To advance meaningful youth engagement in policy processes, YACT developed an interactive meaningful youth engagement scorecard to assess and engage both policymakers and young people during policy processes. The MYE scorecard received input from over 1,000 youth in Kenya, has been adopted across 6 counties and by 59 policymakers. YACT leverages technology to provide resources and opportunities for advocacy and social accountability to youth advocates in the region. The Youth in Action digital advocacy curriculum, with over 1,000 learners from 25 countries. The Youth Power Hub, a social accountability movement with over 60 youth-led organizations in 21 countries in Africa, leveraging digital platforms and AI through a chatbot for reliable information, sexual and reproductive health, and the ICPD plus 25 commitments. YACT's website hosts a COVID-19 info page focusing on key opportunities and information for youth during the COVID-19 pandemic. And finally, the Youth for UHC movement, a Pan-African movement geared towards plugging youth into the UHC agenda, steered by a regional council of youth leaders from 8 countries in Africa. The movement engaged over 1,000 youth from 43 countries in calling for governments to prioritize youth in policymaking and resource allocation for universal health coverage. YACT works with youth-led organizations at grassroots level to develop a capacity strengthening model focusing on policy advocacy, monitoring, evaluation, and learning, and organizational development. Further, YACT utilizes a blended learning approach of experiential in-person training and remote learning, as well as peer-to-peer learning and coaching and mentorship for capacity strengthening. YACT coalitions have positioned themselves as trusted resources to sub-national and national level policymakers. As a result, YACT coalition members sit on government committees and serve in advisory functions. They have influenced numerous youth priorities in gender and SRHR and are increasingly engaging in other youth priorities, including the empowerment of young women. YACT utilizes Amref Health Africa's organizational development and system strengthening approach to assess, strengthen, and support the capacity of youth organizations in a range of areas, including strategic planning, finance, operations and compliance, administration and human resource management, resource mobilization and sustainability, and governance and leadership. As the world evolves, we believe that so must we. Youth priorities are constantly shifting, and we want to shift with them. So as we move into the future, our commitment to you is this: to advance meaningful youth engagement and youth leadership in Africa, to collaborate with youth and strengthen their capacity to amplify policy advocacy efforts for youth priorities, including gender equality, and to leverage digital platforms to spearhead youth-led social accountability efforts.
Remarkable, phenomenal. I mean, words do not even begin to catch what this is. Did you catch that part where Youth Power Hub uses digital advocacy skills and artificial intelligence to drive youth-led social accountability?
Wow.
I mean, trailblazing does not even begin to cover it. And now that we know a little about YACT's DNA, I'm super, super excited to usher in the next session, where we'll delve into WIAC's winning models. That would be the Youth in Action Advocacy Curriculum. And all these sessions have a sign language translation and also a French translation on Zoom. So this fireside chat will be led by our very own, the darkest man in Africa, Mr. Clayton Opio, who's joined by two amazing advocates who've been core in the development and the uptake of the curriculum. But before we get into these discussions, DJ Vani, would you set the mood for us?
Let me tell them how the thing goes. How the thing goes. Okay. Okay. Chevy make a tamua. Say my tukina go join cards. You want to bamba? You wanna chill with the big boys? Now you the rock, kitty, you the rock. Get enough with drink, but a drop cup. Hey. So you see how the thing goes. How the thing goes. Oh, you tell them who blend you. And who? All right, take it easy, and let's play some high points. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Evans and Noel, for reminding people that the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. My name is Clayton Edwin Opio. I work for Amref Health Africa, Youth in Action Project. And it's going to be an interesting discussion because for us, we are going to look at how the Youth in Action curriculum is. Joining me today on stage are two phenomenal young men, and a young man and a young woman, all the way from Nairobi County and Kakamega County. I'm joined on stage by Nelly Madegwa from Kakamega County. Fascinating facts about Nelly is that she's an award-winning data journalist. She recently won an award from Africa Journalist Gender Equality. And then also she's a current fellow at African Union International Center for Girls and Women Education. On stage also is the phenomenal Dollarman. He has won 2 international awards from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for his excellent work in youth space. He's a frequent columnist in local dailies, and he has also won the Kenya Presidential Award Scheme for Young People, the gold standard. Underline the gold standard. So basically, Nelly and Dollarman, we wish to know from you how the curriculum has been, how it has impacted you at a personal level, at an organization level, and also probably also get to know how this translates into your day-to-day work. So to set this ball rolling, I'll start with you, Dollarman. Will you kindly tell us what do you do now? Which organization are you affiliated to? And probably also how does this curriculum link with what you're doing right now?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I'm so happy to be celebrating the WIAC journey. My name, as you've heard, is Dollarman, and currently I'm the youth coordinator at the Center for the Study of Adolescence, Kenya. And I am also a beneficiary of the Youth in Action online curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dollarman. And to you, Ms. Nelly.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. My name is Nelly, as you've heard. Currently, I'm a data journalist with African Women Journalism Project, and I'm also a program officer with Musingi Adili Initiative, which actually works on issues sexual reproductive health in Kakamega County. Thank you.
Awesome. So as you've seen, I'm joined today by award-winning people. Award. And also I'm on the process of winning other awards. Now, for those of you who are asking, keep the questions coming on our chats. We should be able to get back to you. Keep the questions coming, the comments, the feedback. Also, let's keep it trending, and we'll endeavor to ensure that we respond to your questions. WIAC developed the Youth in Action advocacy curriculum that was primarily curated for Kenyan context. And all of you are involved in the process. You went through it. Dollarman, you were the first people to go through it. So probably in a nutshell, you can tell us how was it going through it, and what did you learn from it? And probably can you also tell us how it has impacted you at an individual and organization level?
Okay, thank you. Like I mentioned earlier, I was among the first, maybe I can say pioneers of the Youth in Action project in Kenya under Amref Health Africa.
Yep.
And was luckily among the first youth advocates to be trained on advocacy. And this was done in person, and it was being complemented by the advocacy online curriculum that we are discussing here today. And at that time, 2 years ago, it was at a pilot phase. So we are being trained online, in person, and still taking the online curriculum as a pilot phase. And of which we had an opportunity to be the young people who contributed to its improvement, and by giving back feedback. And I was among the people who also contributed to the review phase to make it better for young people to interact with it. Thank you.
That's great. And I really like the fact that for your cohort, you did it more in person, but also the learners were able to help improve the content and the curriculum.
Yeah.
So this paves the way for the second cohort. And now where you underwent through the curriculum. And for your case, it was blended, where it was both online and in person. So you probably can shed a little bit of light on how that was, and probably how the impact of that approach.
Okay, so I was part of the second cohort, and we did, as he has said, a blended learning where we had in-person sessions, and we also, the advocates had a chance to interact with the online curriculum. And I'll say that for us, for the in-person sessions, we did have a lot of fun, and it was really great. One aspect that stood out for me was that we had something called experiential learning, where we were doing examples. The examples were actually a project that we were to implement post the curriculum, and that was a really good thing for us. And also just having your own personal time to interact with the content online also gave us just more time to, in a way, engage with the content and learn better and improve on what we had already been taught during the in-person sessions.
Awesome. So the learning wasn't theoretical, it was practical. You learned, you developed, and you executed what you had developed. And sure. I believe that is the same case for your cohort.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that stood out for me, or as a key highlight maybe to mention, and it's very important, is the section that provides knowledge and skills on budgetary process, and how we as young people can contribute can participate meaningfully in the budgetary process that do happen in our country. We know as young people, we do things, but for these things to be implemented, they require budget allocation. So the curriculum has the knowledge and skills and guidance on how you can meaningfully participate in the budgetary process. It provides the budgetary calendar and the points that you can participate in those to influence budgetary allocation wherever you are in this country. Thank you.
Following on the same trajectory, Nelly, which particular skills can you come with from the top of your head that you say, out of all this training that I went through from this curriculum, these are the key things that I picked and I'm still utilizing them up to date?
I'll say that the concept that stood out for me was the theory of change. Every time you want to contribute to creating change on any particular issue, is you ask yourself, if I do this, then what happens? And so us learning as young people how to be specific and in our theory of change, I think it has really contributed a lot to the post programs that I've been able to be a part of. Mm-hmm. And another aspect that did made an impact was the monitoring and evaluation. Most of us, we work in organizations where we implement programs. And so having that skill of learning on how you implemented a project and where you had maybe deficiencies and maybe where you didn't learn, where you didn't do well, it in a way helps you to do better in the next time you're implementing a different project. So that was also a very key skill I got.
That's interesting. So in a nutshell, how will you say this curriculum has impacted on you as an individual and your organization? Having gone through this curriculum, is there anything that stands out from your work at an individual, and also has it benefited the organization?
Yeah, thank you very much. An individual point, I must mention that I got new skills. Before interacting with the online curriculum, I still used to do advocacy. But after interacting with this online curriculum, I had an opportunity now to improve how I engage with policymakers at the county level. And as a result, together with the young people that we did we underwent through this online curriculum, we were able to push and to work with the Nairobi County Health Department to develop an AYSRH, Adolescent and Young People Sexual Reproductive Health.
For the listeners and the viewers who may not know the acronyms,
Yeah. We worked with the Nairobi Department of Health Services through a meaningful youth engagement process, and we were able to come up with that framework that I can mention now as an organizational level. It was a great achievement for us, which couldn't be possible without the kind of skills that we got through the online curriculum. Yeah.
So the skills that you gained you utilize them to influence the development of a framework that is currently in place.
Yes.
And that's amazing.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I must mention is that also the curriculum is a bit long, and the good thing with the legitimacy, it comes with its comprehensiveness. So just requires some commitment, but the greater impact is mind-blowing. Thank you.
Okay. I mean, the give and take.
Yeah.
If you have comprehensiveness, it will be a bit intensive. Nelly, how have the skills that you've gained been able to impact you at an individual and organization level, and even with what you do? What have been the main highlights?
Okay, thank you for that. I'll say that at personal level was definitely the skills I gained in policy advocacy. And one thing that I was able to do at an individual level was that in last year, I was able to lead a policy clinic that was organized by British Council under the AGAL program. And we had women participating from 7 countries in Africa. And there's no way I'll have been able to lead that clinic without the skills from the curriculum. And for at the organization level, I say that my organization was part of the coalition that advocated for the adoption of sexual gender-based violence policy in my county, and also just adding the aspect of teenage pregnancy in it. And that was like a very big win for us.
This is really interesting. I like words. So basically you're saying that you've got the right skills and you are able to utilize these skills to influence policies, strategies, frameworks in your respective counties. Yes. And with these skills, you're now able to engage better with policymakers and other decision makers.
Definitely.
So how did you learn about this curriculum? And do you think it's something you will refer the young people to go through it? Let me start with you, Nelly.
The curriculum to me was, I was referred to it by a mentor in the sexual reproductive health space. That's how I got to learn about it. And I'll definitely recommend for young people to learn and take part. And the reason why I'll do this is because young people, the reason why our issues are rarely addressed in the right way is because we lack the skills and the knowledge to meaningfully engage with policymakers. And the curriculum is the best point for you to start to get the skills and the right knowledge so that you're actually aware of what point to engage and who to engage on the various issues that affect us as young people in this country.
Thank you very much. And you, Mr. Dolaman?
Yes, thank you. For me, I'd recommend any person, not just young, but even though the curriculum is focusing on young people, but any person who wants to see transformation at the community, at the county or national level, there are only 2 things. We need to change policies or frameworks. Then you also need, after changing those policies, you need budgetary allocation for the same. And This online curriculum provides a stepwise guide on how you can maneuver through that and work with the government to bring the transformation that you need or want to see in your community. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm learning from you two wonderful young people that for you to do advocacy, you need to be strategic about it. You need to be informed on what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and that will in turn will generate better results. So your parting shot to the thousands of young people who have joined us today, what will be the main message that you wish to tell them?
Yes, thank you very much. Like you mentioned, that advocacy or transformation is about strategy. And that's something that we must all learn and employ in any work that we are doing as young people particularly. And this online curriculum is now an open source, it's comprehensive, and it's free. So as young people, let's participate, let's engage in the online curriculum, get the skills, and bring the transformation that we want to see in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And to you, Nelly, your parting shot.
Okay, I think I'll just reiterate what I said earlier. Knowledge and skills is the groundwork, the baseline for any young person or any person out there who wants to engage in creating change in our communities. And the curriculum is, as I said, the best foundation for you as a young person or any just young or an adult who wants to create change, to learn how to engage in a way that is deliberate and strategic. So that's it for me.
There you had it, ladies and gentlemen. The Youth in Action Advocacy Curriculum is currently open source, it's free. Currently, we have over 1,500 learners enrolled undertaking the course. It gives you great insights, it gives you examples that are relevant to your work. Any person who wants to undertake advocacy, you can enhance your skills by going through this curriculum. The link is in our chat box, and or you can also check it out on our website. My parting shot to you will be this. Yes, young people, you want to engage, but if you engage in anything without knowledge, then it leads to chaos. Back to you, our able MC, and I forgot to mention that Noel is single, so her number will be provided on the chat box as well.
Wow, absolutely. Thank you very, very much, the darkest man in Africa, CEO, and the youth advocates, Dolaman and Nelly, for the incredible work that you're doing, not only in your spaces, but just to champion on issues of youth advocacy, youth-led movements in your specific spaces. Now, did you know that it is completely free to take this youth advocacy curriculum? Yes, it is. And this advocacy curriculum, it is hosted on the digital platform, and you can actually access it on your mobile phone. Yes, on your mobile phone. So currently we have, like for the video that we were shown earlier on, we have about 1,200 youth advocates from across 25 different countries. Imagine, 25 different countries who have taken up this specific cause. So what are you waiting for? Sign up. The link is shared down there. The link is shared down there. So kindly sign up so that you can be part of this amazing, amazing journey. Now, before we launch into our next session, which my co-host or co-MC, Noel, will be able to lead us in that kind of conversation, I know that we have guys on the virtual spaces who are eager, to engage us, and we are also eager to engage them. Now, I want to engage the audience on something. So I know that we are ready. I know that we are there. So I want us to do a small trivia about WIACT. Exactly. A small trivia about WIACT. Now, I have a small question, just one question that I would want my online viewers to answer this specific question. And the person who is going to get it right, of course, you're going to acknowledge him or her on all our social media platforms, but also we have a small surprise or present that WIACT team will be able to provide it. So we can ship it. I know that we have guys from, let me just recognize all this country. We have guys from New York. We have guys from Netherlands. We have guys from Indonesia. We have guys tuning in from the Kingdom of Lesotho. We have India, Switzerland, Uganda, among others. So I know WIACT team and through AMREF, they are going to ship this prize award to you. So now the question is, in which country did WIACT first start? In which country did WIACT first start? As they respond, DJ Vani. Yay! DJ, and the prize goes to Rogers Omolo. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much. You got it right. Yes, it is Kenya. You got it right. Thank you very, very much, Rogers Omolo. Rogers Omolo, my WIACT team will get in touch with you. We will give a shout out. Please post your handle on the chat so that we can be able to celebrate you as our champion in all our social media platforms, but as well also give us your address so that we can ship this gift to you. Now, I know that we have had a lot to take in, and I know that my other panelists and other engagement are kind of ready and willing to engage in this particular session. Now, I would want us to hear more about the WIACT, how it implements the organizational development at grassroots level. And with this, we have the amazing Noel, who the CEO mentioned that she's single. She didn't mention that to me, but okay, it's okay. So she's going to lead us through a very interactive session. So over to you, Noel.
Thank you so much, Evans, for that very elaborate and particular introduction. I'm so excited to dive further into the amazing capacity strengthening work WIACT has been doing over the last 4 years. Now that we've all learned that WIACT started in Kenya, we are going to be joined by one of our implementing partners from the coastal region. Emmanuel, welcome on set. Would you introduce yourself and tell us a little more about yourself?
Thank you so much. My good name is Mwakera. My faith allows me to be called Emmanuel. I work for Connect to Retain. We are based in the coastal region of Kenya. We do humanitarian programs targeting young people and women with a solemn vision of a just, healthy, and prosperous society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. I would move on to the questions, and the first one would be, would you highlight how your organization was before you were engaged with WIACT organizational development support and strengthening?
It actually feels life before Christ, because for us, WIACT was like a messiah the moment they dawned upon us. So back then, it was a story of a young kid wanting to actually step foot and walk, but lacking the basic techniques to support the want. We were basically a young organization full of vigor without the basic resources. The organization was still young with a lot of gaps from human resource to policies, even just the management. Our board was not well structured. We relied heavily on personal talent rather than systems and structure. And that was the story before the sunset.
Wow, you were just starting your baby steps, right?
Yes.
So with that said, how has your journey been in terms of capacity strengthening of your organization? How would you describe the engagement you had with WIACT?
Thank you. So the first baby steps were basically knowledge-based. It started with the Youth in Action training on advocacy. We had physical trainings. We've been exposed to various professional trainings through the e-learning platform from AMREF University. The advocacy outreach officer for WIACT was quite supportive back then with physical visits in our office. We had key lessons coming from the technical team. That was coming all the way from Nairobi for physical visits in our office. It was basically more of a working journey rather than a teacher-student relationship. We had opportunities also to be linked to various government departments, various technical working groups, and various partners in and within WIACT.
Oh, wow, that's truly amazing. You're talking about it was a walk with Johnny rather than calling you from their offices in Nairobi and asking you how things are doing. It was more of like, this is who we have there and this is who you can collaborate with. That is truly amazing to know. And so now, how did the Youth in Action advocacy training impact you as an individual and also now impact the whole organization?
Oh my. Personally, I come from a purely scientific marine background, from an academic point of view. So to be tasked to undertake an advocacy ask that is health-oriented was a tall order. I can be honest enough to tell you why it's not for the Youth in Action training and the technical support from the WIACT team. It couldn't have been easy. So I actually acknowledge my advocacy skills courtesy of WIACT. For the organization, I mean, it's just awesome. The first baby step started with a well-oriented result-based capacity building plan. And its first fruit was the first strategic plan for the organization, 2019-2023. Their own policies came forth from our advocacy strategies. Structures became into place. Our board is not well structured. Our human resource became better. Various systems became well. Our grant compliance meticulously came from none to something that is substantial. And even our visibility across board was something to admire from there on.
Wow, thank you so much for describing that. As you're thinking about it, I'm just looking at the magnitude of that. You actually mentioned that you came from nothing. Those were your words. So WIACT held you throughout the journey, and now you have an advocacy plan, you have a capacity building plan, and also you're talking about how your organization has been strengthened in terms of skills and all that. Isn't that amazing? If you're watching us from the chat, would you just send some love to the WIACT team? Thank you so much, Emmanuel. And now it's not the elephant in the room really, but something really important that we talk about, meaningful youth engagement. I mean, if you look at our background, it has big letters written, meaningful youth engagement. And nowadays we talk about it every other time. So Emmanuel, what does meaningful youth engagement mean to you as a person? And how has this been helpful in continuing and developing your advocacy back at home?
From a personal point of view, meaningful youth engagement is the intentional engagement of young people in programs that are oriented towards their need, from the agenda setting to the implementation towards the review of the program. Meaningful youth engagement has two critical aspects in them. First, we all know programming is evidence-based. So for us to know what the young people actually want, it's for us to engage them during the agenda setting. And for the program to actually be responsive and output-oriented, it is the young people themselves who are better placed to tell us how the program is to be designed to suit their needs as at now. Bearing in mind, most of us are quite millennials with quite complicated demands. I'll give a case study of success stories of meaningful youth engagement. For our case in Kilifi County, a baby was born courtesy of Meaningful Youth Engagement, and the baby is called Kilifi Youth Advisory Council. This is a strategic framework within the Department of Health aimed at facilitating meaningful youth engagement. So all county programs that are geared towards young people within the Department of Health are run by the council, courtesy of the great Department of Health. And of course, the council has even budget allocation within the department. So this is something that can be actualized and become something of our time that we can emulate.
Wow.
For the scorecard, sorry for that. The scorecard basically is designed to facilitate and monitor the extent to which policymakers engage young people. So the idea is not to have meaningful youth engagement in form of words in papers, like mostly say it, but actually actualizing it. So it scores to what level and extent young people are engaged in programs by policymakers that are aligned to them. And on the flip side, policymakers get an opportunity to score the young people. If given an opportunity, how do these young people perform? So it's a case of if they're engaged, do they actually participate? Is their participation also meaningful? And it's a great tool that can be brought or copied by in other programs, not necessarily policymakers, but also organizations. And it demonstrates for our case, it's a reality of our time and it actually works.
Wow, it is a reality of our time and it actually works. And to just sum up that, what you talked about meaningful engagement, you're basically saying nothing for us without us. And that is truly, truly, truly amazing. So Emmanuel, what are some of the achievements your organization attributes to ODSS and monitoring and evaluation and learning trainings you have gotten from the Youth in Action team?
Thank you. This is where it gets quite meticulous. I can tell you, as I started off, I said, it's the story of a young kid who wanted to rise up. And to this point, I can tell you, we've risen from actually babies or minors to what we call emancipated minors. Some call them mature minors. From our organization point of view, our organization has risen in 5 points of views. First, resource-wise, we have now not only assembled a pool of talent and innovators, but also highly trained and technical personnel who are capable of delivering to the task at hand and actually realizing the organization's strategic plan. We have also managed to secure funding far and beyond the Y Act across board to a tune of various millions. When we started off, we were only in Kilifi County. As I speak now, we have our footprints to the farthest end county in Coast region called Kwale. If you go to Mombasa, the great island, you will find our footprints. And in the near future, we look forward to have our footprints in Lamu. And the story is having our footprints across the great Jumuiya ya counties of Pwani. Visibility is key. We now have various social media platforms and numbers don't lie. We are doing quite well. I can share with you with great pride, the organization now has a website. Feel at home to visit us, www.connecttoretain.co.ke. Of great importance, the advocacy ask was achieved. The menstrual hygiene policy. We take great pride in it. Kilifi County is the pioneer county to domesticate the policy for all the 47 counties. So it tells a lot. We didn't have a benchmark. Everything had to be put to perfection. And that for us is something we take great pride in it. We've had an opportunity to facilitate and take lead roles in various county policies beyond the MHM, the gender policy, the GBV policy. And the most technical one, we are currently designing an MIS, it's a data management tool for the County Department of Gender. That is, will be ready in the next few months. And these are lessons learned from Y Act. And the growth has been quite exponential. I can list a number of things. For the respect of time, let it end there.
Wow, those are quite a good number of things. And one of the things I noted is Kilifi County being the first county in Kenya developing the menstrual hygiene policy. Congratulations on that amazing work and the support you've gotten from Y Act. Show some love to Kilifi County, at least with some nice emojis on the chat. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for comprehensively sharing the impact Y Act has had on your organization. So now what is your parting shot to the Y Act team? What do you want to let them know?
To the larger Y Act team, from wherever they are, I want to send my hearty acknowledgement for the support. It was limitless, it was endless. At some times it was quite Herculean, but they've always been there. The number of young organizations that have risen to be stable, the number of young lives that have been impacted by this program is a manifestation of how great the design and implementation of this program is. And I can tell you for a fact, if that is not enough grace to take these people to heaven, then heaven never exists. I'm actually impressed. If you go to the ground and listen to the great stories out there, it's been hours, it's been days, it's been months, It's been years of perfection, hard work, teamwork, and endless innovation and a zeal to grow. And I can only bow my head down for them. I actually appreciate for the many lives out there that are now great courtesy of you people. Mungu awabariki. May God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Amen. Please type an amen in the chat box. More grace and strength to the WIAC team. They've really done a tremendous job, as you can hear from Emmanuel. Emmanuel, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. I must admit you've made it a little easier for us to understand how much the tools and resources you've gotten from WIAC has not only impacted you, but also your organization. And now to our audience, Emmanuel has spoken about really, really amazing things. You can also get this kind of skills training, the organizational development tool, and the meaningful youth engagement scorecard from the links shared in the chat. Just check out the chat, log in, and get yourself learning like Emmanuel so that you are to a level that hamtashikika, as we say it. So right about now, we want to take a little break. So Evans, what do you think about a vibe check?
Yeah. I think that would be a very perfect idea because we have heard from the incredible Mwakera from Kilifi County, the wonderful work that they're doing. So I'll invite my DJ so that he can be able to spine it a little bit. DJ Vani. Lovely. Thank you, DJ Vani. I must confess, and I'm confessing this, that I used to be part of the WIAC team from the start. I was the chair of the Youth Steering Committee 2018-2022, and I must appreciate that this has been an amazing journey. I keep on learning every day, and I'm still learning even up to now. So thank you so much. Now I think that we have absorbed some heavy stuff. We have had very candid conversations, engagement, and right now I want us to unwind a little bit. So I'll invite some dancers on the floor so that they can be able to light up this place. We light up this place, we also light up the virtual space that we're having. So wherever you are watching us from, kindly join us in this spectacular dance with this amazing dancer. Over to you, the dancer and the DJ.
What you wanna do, like say you speed, make one hand for your body, yo. Already me, yo. Don't say the economy, worry, yo. Even me self will go already, yo. When I'm about to cover me, yo. Already me, yo. Don't say the economy, worry, yo. Even me self will go already, yo. But I put my trust in the one that holds tomorrow.
Downs are part of life on earth, and that's real. Even as I write this song, I got worries of my own, and I find strength knowing that I am not alone. I go sing, I go dance, I go scream, I go shout, I go parati wulu, I shower blessing from the throne. I put the past behind me with the Lord beside me, and I focus on the word and let it pacify me, cause it's perfect timing. I'm his rhyming, finally I stay focused even though the past was grimy. So move, I beg. Bless the money, oh yeah, move your leg. Thank God for life, make you pull your stress. My way go so walk will make you the move ahead. Now
Wow, wow, wow,
Wow, wow.
wow. Can we just stop to just appreciate this amazing dancers? It's the rhythm and coordination for me. Evans, Ati, what is that they were trying to do?
DJ Vani, play for me so that
What
we
were
also,
those
the
things
vibes,
that I'm
uh-huh.
not getting to?
I think they were doing like this, eh? When they do like this, like that.
Thank you, DJ Vani. Thank you, DJ Vani. But now I'd like for us to get a little serious, just a little, I promise. It's been so great to hear about the amazing things that WIACT has accomplished over the 4 years. Now we're going to hear from some amazing partners who have empowered WIACT to do the work it does. They'll also share what stood out for them in their vision of youth-led advocacy in Africa. We'll get to hear from Catalyst for Change, Children Investments Fund Foundation, and UNFPA.
Continue to marvel at the policy impact that they've had over the years. What I think makes them so unique is the work that they do with young people in communities before their advocacy takes place. To understand the experiences and priorities of those young people and how they then and position them as true partners and advisors to policymakers. But what's more rare is how WIACT strengthens youth-led organizations as well. With stronger systems and governance, these organizations are better able to attract, retain, and deliver resources for advocacy, which allows them to drive their own agendas and better able to see the advocacy through to implementation. What WIACT has achieved in Kenya is grounding, and I can't wait to come up with next, but I hope they'll find a way to serve as a resource and a partner to young people across the continent. Thanks for all that you do.
Working with WIACT has been real pleasure. We've had the opportunity to influence conversations around the Kenyan government's commitments to the generation equality at subnational, also national level, bringing a fresh perspective into the role of young people in helping the government to deliver on its commitments. WIACT has done tremendous work around the convening of young people and young youth-led organizations to contribute to not just this conversation, but many others that are currently going on in the country. The future for WIACT is certainly bright, and it would be great to see WIACT embedded even more firmly at subnational level, working through community-led, youth-led organizations, while still influencing the conversation at national level.
UNFPA East and Southern Africa Regional Office started working with WIACT on the Youth Power Hub hashtag campaign, which aimed at tracking the youth-focused ICPD25 commitments in countries. Since then, we were impressed with the fact that WIACT is capitalizing on digital platforms and advanced youth-led dialogues among thousands of youth leaders across and beyond the region. It was one of its kind, and still it is one of its kind in that it is designed and implemented by youth leaders. While implementing the Youth Power Hub digital campaign with Afria, another pioneer youth-led organization, it proved the importance of cross-learning and collaboration among youth-led initiatives. Despite the digital divide we witnessed since the outbreak of COVID-19, it's our strong interest that WIACT will expand its network and work with other youth-led initiatives and design mechanisms of engaging as many young people as possible in the region, mainly those left behind.
Remarkable, remarkable. We have received amazing quotes as well from 2 of our partners, and I will read them out loud. So Jocelyn Meyer and the Comic Relief USA team says, WIACT has been an anchor of Comic Relief US's empowerment pillar and gender equity efforts. We have been so impressed by all that WIACT has achieved, not least within the context of COVID-19. The way in which WIACT centers youth has been inspiring. It has been a privilege and an honor to be part of WIACT's success at this critical time.
And the team from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation says, it has been an honor to watch the AMREF WIACT team take flight in Kenya. From my first meeting at their office in Nairobi, covered in fresh murals by youth artists, to today, I've always appreciated how well their team blended focus and strategy with joy and authenticity. Bob Kelty from AMREF USA says, I had the honor of witnessing a group of young advocates come together in 2016 at the AMREF Health Africa conference to answer one question. How could there be real change in the lives of young people in Kenya without strong youth-led organization? Their answer was to create a network of youth advocates which would become WIACT. What makes WIACT special is the original mission of building the capacity of youth advocates in local communities has never wavered.
Wow, wow, wow. And in addition to that, what makes WIACT so special is the partnerships they foster with different stakeholders. So now we'll get to hear from policymakers from regions where WIACT and youth in action interventions have impacted policymaker and youth engagements.
One of the learning processes actually we have learned from WIACT is meaningful youth engagement, which has really brought a positive impact on us as policymakers towards the implementation of programs for the young people. We've had a scoring where we have had interactions with the WIACT team, and we've seen the weaknesses where we need to improve as policymakers and where the young people have to improve in terms of our working together.
Biggest milestone of them all being support from WIACT coalition to domesticate the implementation guidelines of the reproductive health policy of Kenya.
Through the WIACT, you have seen young people coming to participate in the government system, different particular cadre. What we did with in the support of the WIACT, we came up with the youth sector working group, where WIACT was key in terms of coming up with the TOR and also guidelines. And we formed the county youth sector based on our policy development of national government. That brought us to have 4 key pillars, which deals with the youth and governance. And here, where the sub-branches were sitting to shape policies and programs.
WIACT is part and parcel of the implementation strategy, so that they also bring in their expertise and bring in their advocacy aspect to really work with the young people and see that the county is accountable to the young people on the ground.
We've been able to develop a number of policies together, working collaboratively with other partners and stakeholders. We have come up with an anti-bidding policy in Samburu County, which is trying to address the harmful cultural practices in the community, which include early marriages, FGM, and the culture of bidding of the young girls.
They come to supplement the work of our office or the youth office on the ground. And one of the tools that they have, the WIACT has used is the MND scoring card, which once we sat down with the young people and they scored the way they are relating with the young people on the ground, it came out very clearly of where we stand from the government point of view and where they are at and how we are giving services to young people. It was really an empowering tool because it also gave us insights of the shortcomings that we have as government officers and also a shortcomings that we have with the young people. And from that scoring card, able to discuss and maybe able to adjust some of the, or improve some of the services that we are giving to the young people.
Wow, wow, very inspiring. I mean, look at how the policymakers are explaining and giving the insight of WIACT, how WIACT has enabled and has changed and shaped the advocacy agenda, not only in one county, but several counties. And we have also heard from our different donors, from their quotes, partners, how WIACT has shaped the youth agenda, not only in Africa, but we also hope to go international. Now, WIACT has shared with us their models, their advocacy models, and they have shared with us the strategies and innovations that they use to ensure that they shape the youth agenda in Africa. Now, you remember that we promised you that this event is going to be one of the most exciting events that we have ever seen. Now, we are now at the climax of this particular event. And this is a place where WIACT will share its commitment. They call it a promise for the African youth. A promise for the African youth. Now, in its own fashion, we are going to hear the promise through a poetic, one of the amazing poetic bee. We call her Wambui. She's going to explain this African youth promise.
I saw a vision of the future. The youth spoke with conviction and gladness. They were active in their community and held themselves in high regard, and were not afraid to speak their mind. This was a promise I made to them, to speak out for their sake against all that can threaten their future and freedom, and to stand up for all that will bring it to pass. So listen, I speak as a youth. I speak as a woman. I speak the truth. I speak to power. I speak with power. Has it not been said and not yet done? A fictional ideology undone? Am I misremembering a war that has not been won? Or has it been won? Is it not in our hands we mold him and her, we, the wisdom bearers? Is it such a sensitive inclusion, or is it an attempt to eradicate truth? Put your blindfolds on and speak to me as human. Have we closed the chapters of gender equality? Listen, we must and we will, without a doubt, re-examine our approach, our attitude, our definition of right and wrong. We, the youth, are the majority. It is a time of our becoming. We are here to hold you accountable. We are present, we are talking, we are active. We shall not be silenced. We shall no longer wait in the shadows and complain, nor shall we be intimidated, lured, and persuaded. We are the bearers of a free freedom. The stones and the tables have been turned. Our voices are cracked from screaming change. Our hands are untied, our minds resurrected, our feet are grounded. This is the promise to the young people. I speak with conviction. I speak as a youth. I speak to the youth. We have an opportunity to shift policies. So let's begin to police our policies in order to eradicate the policy of hypocrisy that seeks to shut us out. We shall create winning solutions for both youth and policymakers. We shall partner and collaborate, build bridges, redefine society bias, build a community based on communal dialogue, cut down the roots of greed, selfishness, and self-sabotage. I speak as a youth. I speak as a woman. I speak for our future. We have the power to speak the truth, and a truth to power. This is our promise. This is our promise to the youth of Africa.
Wow, wow, wow. I legit felt chills running down my spine. If you heard what she said, we shall not be intimidated. We shall hold you accountable. Thank you so much for articulating that, Wambui, the poetic bee. So eloquent, so poignant. Thank you for bringing that out. And there's truly no better way of bringing out WIACT's commitment other than that. And as my co-host had earlier mentioned, we are almost drawing to the close of this event. However, this event will not be complete if we would not have the larger AMREF fraternity join us. So for that, we have the perfect person tuned into this session.
A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. My name is Dirk Janssen, Group Programs Director at AMREF Health Africa. AMREF Health Africa, we're extremely proud to contribute to revolutionizing the youth advocacy journey in Africa through YACT, Youth in Action. As has been mentioned by the powerful, energetic youth advocates today, the policymakers and the partners, YACT has truly made tremendous strides towards building the capacity of young people to shift the policy landscape on youth priorities in Africa. From the grassroots, influencing gender, sexual and reproductive health policies at subnational and national level, but also influencing social accountability for policies at regional level with the East Africa community. We have seen YACT youth advocates bring trusted resources to policymakers and skillfully engaging in policymaking processes. As a leader in the development sector, I'm often in awe of how young people in today's era continue to rightfully claim their space in society through innovative movement building and the courage that they have to take action for what matters to them. One thing that stood out to me from today's celebration and listening to the powerful stories of these youth is that Africa will not be complete without its youth. And for us, in order to contribute to lasting health change in Africa, we are amplifying the youth-led advocacy efforts in line with our corporate strategy and the global youth and adolescent strategy. We have scaled the YACT youth advocacy models within AMREF Health Africa through different initiatives, including the Power to Youth program, which is a partnership which is currently implemented in 7 different countries, the Integrated Youth Activity Program in Ethiopia. And very soon, we will replicate the same advocacy models in a multi-country youth empowerment program. You have our commitment. And our belief in youth is underpinned in 3 things. First, we acknowledge that the youth agency is a right. It's not an option. So we have to allow and support young people to become the architects of their own lives. Secondly, we acknowledge that meaningful youth engagement goes beyond giving youth a voice. It's about empowering young people to tap into their agency to affect change. And as an organization, we're doing this by transforming AMREF to become youth-centric. Thirdly, fostering youth-led accountability to keep these policymakers accountable for the commitments that they make when it comes to addressing the needs of the youth is critical, especially at this time when the world is building back better and we're making headway towards achieving the 2030 agenda. Therefore, our promise as AMREF Health Africa is to continue leading this journey. We will continue supporting, empowering youth-led movements. Congratulations once again to the YACT movement and the digital network of vibrant youth advocates across the 21 countries in Africa for leading the way in Africa. Thank you very much.
Wow. Wow, wow, amazing, amazing. It was lovely to hear from Dirk, the Group Programs Director at AMREF Health Africa. Now, ladies and gentlemen, mabibi na mabwana, I would want to introduce the YACT team, this amazing YACT team that have been able to revolutionize the youth agenda in Africa. I want to introduce them so that you can be able to see these young people who have shaped the advocacy agenda in Africa.
what beautiful faces behind the great work Amref Health Africa is doing through the Y-Act project. So beautiful.
Waswahili wanasema kilicho na mwanzo hakikosi mwisho.
The wise men say all is well that ends well.
Mabibi na mabwana,
Ladies and gentlemen,
tumefika kilele cha tamasha yetu.
we are now at the tail end of this amazing event.
Na ningependa kukaribisha wale wanadensi wetu ambao walikuwa wakitutumbuiza tangu mwanzo.
And now we welcome the rhythmic and coordinated dancers to entertain us a little bit.
But kabla hawaja tutumbuiza kidogo, ni vyema tuweze kushukuru wale wote ambao wameweza kutusaidia kuhakikisha kwamba hii tamasha tumeifanya.
But before we get to this, it is important for us to thank everyone who made this event possible.
Asante sana. So thank you very much. I'll first want to appreciate my audience who have been with us since I think 1.5 hours ago.
Yeah.
So thank you very, very much for tuning in, engaging in that in the platform, and just also tweeting. Those guys in Twitter, Youth in Action, thank you very, very much for the wonderful work that you have done. Then we'll also want to appreciate the youth advocates. They have done amazing work, right?
Truly, truly.
Just sharing their thoughts, sharing their successes, and sharing the impact that have created courtesy of Y-Act. I think that's been amazing and amazing. And the third one, I would want to appreciate the video and camera team. Kutima, wow, amazing. You guys have done amazing work. Clap for yourself wherever you are. Asanteni sana, asanteni sana for the wonderful and beautiful things that you have already done. Then also I want to appreciate my DJ Vani, who is on the deck. Please play me something, DJ Vani. Hey. Asante sana DJ Vani.
Thank you, DJ Vani. And this amazing decor and set would not have been possible without the support of this beautiful team called Simply Mammoth Creation. Thank you so much for creating this set for us.
Thank you very much.
A very big thanks also goes to Amref University for providing the venue for us to host this event. We truly, truly appreciate you. Another big thank you goes to the Youth Steering Committee for the support and the leadership in steering this team to where it is today.
Asanteni
And
sana.
of course, the team, the one behind the scenes, the team working in the background, the Y-Act team, a very, very warm and big thank you to all of you guys.
Lovely, lovely,
And
lovely.
most importantly, also a very big thank you to the larger Amref Health Africa team, because without you, this would not have been possible. Not forgetting our international partners who support us in doing this project. And finally, the most important, we'd love to thank the King of Kings, the Lord God Almighty, for giving us the strength, the grace, and the wisdom to continue with all this. Thank you so much, oh dear Lord. It would not have been possible without you. And with that, I want us to prepare ourselves to welcome the amazing, spectacular, where I come from, they say Fantama Gorgeous team of young advocates who are leading the Y-Act team onto the stage to share with us.
Asante sana. Thank you very, very much, Noel. And I've been your host, Evans Ouma, and your co-host, Noel Murunga. Thank you very much. So as they come, DJ Vani, play some beats so that we hear from the dancers. Aha. Hey, beautiful. Go, 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 go.